Hey guys, it's Tim Shermack, and welcome back to another episode of the Platform Marketing Show. I'm joined today by Lauren Duke. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we are both broadcasting during a thunderstorm in Florida. I'm in the Naples area, and Lauren's up closer to Tampa. So fingers crossed that we have strong Wi-Fi throughout this. But this episode has been a long time coming. Lauren and I have a bunch of mutual friends, a bunch of clients that have worked with both Lauren, as well as I've worked with platform marketing. Lauren runs an organization called Core Ops Collective. And, I'll let Lauren explain more of the details of what they do, but really they help agents get their shit together. It has everything to do with systems, organization. If an agent feels like they're scaling and their business is growing, but it all just feels like out of control. Like I feel like every day is a new form of chaos. I don't have systems. Like Lauren is who can come into your business and really clean that up and create systems. Another thing that I think she's kind of become famous for in the real estate world is showing agents not that they can't afford to hire an admin, but that they can't afford not to, because of the way she shows them that, hey, here's how to hire an admin who actually makes you money. Or you can look at what the admin did, in the last month and show how, hey, you were maybe paying them $5,000 a month or whatever, but they brought in $12,000 a month because of what you had them doing. So she has some really cool kind of mathematical examples and mental models of how to think about hiring an admin. Again, it's costing you money not to have leverage there. It doesn't cost you money to have an admin. So Lauren, I'll start by asking, how did you get into the real estate world? Were you a real estate agent? How did you get to coaching realtors and having this consulting business for agents?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think you explained my business better than I would have, just so you know.
Well, we'll have to record this and you can use that later.
Right? Yeah. I have to like trademark we help agents get their shit together, I think. That's
That's kind of catchy.
Yeah. Yeah. But I started back in 2019. I had moved from Italy to Tennessee. My husband he was in the military, and we PCS to Italy. And I was like, hey, I don't really want to. You couldn't have a job, like a traditional job, when you were in Italy.
Where in Italy were you?
In Vicenza. It was about an hour west of Venice.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna act like I know where that is. I'll just nod my head
Yeah.
and be like, oh, cool, yeah.
Once I say it was like an hour west of Venice, people are usually like, oh, okay, sweet, awesome.
Also don't know where that is, but love of Vicenza. Yeah, super great area.
It was great. So was there for 3 years. And when I moved back to Tennessee, I was like, hey, I don't want a traditional, like, go to an office type of job. Or I was a hairdresser, so I definitely didn't want to do that anymore. Was in the period of my life where I had small children and just wanted to stay home. So I started a virtual assistant business, and God bless my uncles for needing random help with their business, because I'm pretty sure they were the ones that were helping me make money the most. But a friend noticed on Facebook that I had started a business, and she made a connection to a real estate agent who was starting a team. And I started as a transaction coordinator. And we quickly grew that team from the one location in.
So you actually started as a transaction coordinator.
I did, yes.
Okay.
So I started as a transaction coordinator.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay, so you actually have like on the ground tactical experience of being a TC.
I've done pretty much all of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yep. So started as a TC. We were in one location with 4 agents, and the owner of the team had a big vision for what the company could grow to. And in my time there, we grew it to 21 locations. We had over 150 agents, and we did 3,000 transactions in the 4 years that I was there.
So 3,000 transactions over 4 years. So simple math dictates that's about 750 transactions a year if you average it out over the 4 years.
The first year that I was there, we did 156 or something like that. The second year was close to 900. The year after that was, I think it was like 1,200 or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I was there
And
for 4 years.
you were obviously you were the TC on all of those files,
No, 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 no.
obviously.
So I started as a TC, right? Yeah, I did all 3,000. I'm fantastic. No, I started as a TC, quickly moved into director of operations role, and then moved on to COO from there.
So
So
yeah, all in a period of 4 years, you kind of oversaw this operation of, hey, we went from 4 agents to this mega team that, as you said, sold 3,000 plus homes in a
yeah,
period of 4 years. So you kind of learned very quickly, because you had to, out of necessity,
hmm
what worked and what doesn't work when you're building an org chart, building like the roles and responsibilities of who's going to do what and who's going to take what task off of what person's plate, to free them up to do more.
yeah.
Um, and you didn't have like a career arc of like, oh, I'm going to become a real estate agent. It kind of just happened that way.
It kind of just happened. Yeah. I when the friend introduced me to this real estate agent, I was like, so how to be a transaction coordinator, like on Google for the
Right.
first 3 months.
And this is back before Chat GPT, when the
Oh my,
answers sucked.
yes, yes. They have it easy nowadays. But yeah, absolutely. I was so nervous to even just like press send on an email because I was afraid that some transaction was going to implode, because everything's an emergency in real estate, right? But no, so we grew so quickly and with no true plan or structure or really anything. The saying building the airplane while in flight was my whole life for those 4 years. And it was hectic and the most chaos that you could
Yeah.
imagine. So org charts I tried to have them, but we grew so fast that they couldn't keep up. I couldn't keep up, right? Um, and the biggest thing that I noticed was when you don't have the structure behind a role, or I don't know if you just saw that lightning, but it was.
Yeah, I was like, is someone taking pictures of you? Because I
I
just
have
saw a
a
camera
photographer
flash.
back here making sure
Yeah,
everyone knows how great,
I was like, you are taking the marketing game way more seriously than I do. If you have like an
no,
in-house
that was some
in-house
wild
in-house
lightning.
photographer.
Um,
Yeah, I saw that. That was a legit flash of
that
light
was
there.
crazy. But yeah, so the biggest thing that I realized was when you don't have any sort of structure or true purpose behind the role that you're bringing on, it will not work. No matter how hard you try, no matter what kind of person you bring in, they could have amazing experience. But if you are not able to articulate your vision and you are not able to communicate what you want to them, no
Yeah.
one.
It's not a clearly defined role where here's
Right,
exactly what I want you doing every day. Here's how I define success at the end of the day, is if you got these things done
right.
at the end of every month. Here's how I define success of if these things got done every month.
Yep.
I think most, and this isn't even really real estate agents. This is
Yeah.
yeah, it's like small business owners in general. They often get to that point in their business where the supply and demand of their personal time is starting to like invert.
Mhm.
Where it used to be they had all the time in the world and they didn't have any money and they were just hustling, hustling, hustling to grow
Right.
the business. And eventually it starts becoming more successful. And that kind of flips where now they actually have some money
Right.
because they're making sales and, but what they don't have is time. And usually out of desperation, out of pure chaos, they're like, oh my God, I need to hire someone. Right.
Yeah.
I remember being there. The first person I hired was my brother Andrew, and I didn't know what I was doing. He didn't know what he was doing, and I was like, "Hey, dude, come help me.
Come figure it out with
Here's
me.
here's how to manage the social media campaigns.
Yeah.
Here's how to set up the landing pages and the email follow up sequences and blah 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 blah."
And keep
I
up.
had no idea. Yeah, like he was learning right alongside me, because to say that I had a lack of training would be an understatement. It was basically like, come help me and I'll try to show you what to do while I also juggle all the things I'm doing. Like there
Right.
wasn't really any formal training. My wife, who now runs the whole ads team for platform, so she has like uh 30, no, 40 people that directly report to her. Now
Mhm.
she's by far has the most direct reports in platform. She still makes fun of me all these years later. She's like, you realized when you like hired me for platform. I mean, we had been married for like 2 years, I think.
Mm.
She's like, you gave me like 2 hours of training on how to do Facebook ads, and then you're like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
And now, now she oversees that whole team. So every small business owner has
Myself
been in this
included.
spot, yes, where
Yeah.
you're hiring out of just pure desperation. You go find someone that seems responsible, seems to maybe have the strengths that are your weaknesses. They're more organized than you are. They're a checklist person, whatever. All the reasons you rationalize to yourself, I'm going to hire this person. But the error that so many of them make is they just hire someone and then the person starts on day one in an article. What do you want me to do? And you're like,
Right.
well, find stuff to do. Like
Right.
there's no clearly defined roles. There's no checklists. There really isn't a job description other than, well, I want you to be my assistant. It's like, well, what the hell does
What does
that
that
mean?
mean?
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And, I'm guilty of it too. When I started Core Ops, I was like, I have $4 and I need help. So what can I get? Right. And that's kind of where Core Ops' big foundation of, hey, having an admin does not have to be a ginormous out of pocket expense for you, stems from, because agents think that having an in-house admin is some luxury, when in reality, if they meet you where you're at, if you have $500, figure out what is your top lead source, or what are the best revenue generating activities that either you don't like to do or work, or you don't have time to fully pay attention to, and
Right.
have them go do that. Be an extension of you. Instead of, a lot of times they're like, okay, I'm going to bring an admin on and then I can go and have, throw spaghetti at the wall and figure out another lead source. No, have them come in. And if past clients are a part of your, lead gen funnel, go work them
Right.
harder. If you are with platform, have them call your leads, right?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest like light bulb moments that agents have when they work with you, because we have a bunch of our platform clients that have worked with you and they rave
Mm-hmm.
about kind of your model of thinking about things and the systems you show them, is that when you hire an admin, like you should be focused on having them working on revenue generating activities. You don't hire an admin and necessarily just give them the boring paperwork behind the scenes stuff. It's not that you can't do that
Right.
too, right? But you shouldn't mentally separate, oh, the admin that I hire is only to do this boring paperwork stuff so that I can go out and do all the fancy schmancy sales and marketing
Right.
stuff. It really is almost the opposite, where if you hire an admin, as you said, it's like, well, if you're not following up with your leads, if you're not burying,
Right.
your head into the CRM every day for at least an hour, making follow-up phone calls, follow-up texts, emails, etc., have the admin do that,
Someone needs
right? Like, yeah, it's like hiring an administrative assistant is not just for monitoring your inbox. It's not just for compliance
calendar.
paperwork.
Right.
Yeah, calendar management. You can use it for sales and marketing tasks, because that's frankly where there's probably the greatest leverage of, hey, you pay them, $25 an hour, whatever, but they're bringing in $100 an hour based on their
Exactly.
activities.
Which they should. You should bring on an admin that gives you the 4 times ROI. And that's just the standard that in any business you want to see, that 4 times ROI, but especially someone that you are paying,
Yeah.
And so whether it is, like you said, calling the leads, and someone does have to track the activities that are happening and do the KPIs and the metrics and the whole 9 yards, right? But that would take them 1 hour, where you're going to sit there as the agent and be like, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
It's going to take,
Yep.
you're not even going to attempt,
Fun
for the most part.
fun fact, here's where I interject with a history fun fact.
Yes.
As a military family, you might find this interesting, that the expression "the whole 9 yards" comes from World War II, where the ammo belts on the U.S. fighter planes, I think it was the P-51, were 27 feet long. So to tell someone give them the whole 9 yards means like shoot so many bullets into that bad guy that you literally use your whole ammo belt on.
That is so interesting. I literally use that saying
Yep.
all the time.
Yep. My dad used it all the time, and he taught me way back when, oh, here's technically what that, because he was in the Navy, here's technically what that means is that the ammo belts are 27 feet long. And so I've always buried that fact deep in my brain, waiting for a moment to share it with someone to make me look smart. And I thank you for
You
giving
are
me that
so welcome.
opportunity, because I waited probably 20 years for that. So thank
You're
you,
so
Lauren.
welcome.
So if someone is hiring an admin, I think the question a lot of people have of why they're listening to this particular podcast episode is, okay, you promised that you would show me how to hire an admin that actually makes me money instead of it costing me money. Could you explain what you mean by that and how you approach that, like, mentally differently from most people who talk about hiring an admin?
Yeah. When you're in that desperation mode, right? And you're sweating because you're like, I can't even I haven't eaten lunch in 2 weeks, right? Because I'm just so busy and so bogged down with everything. A lot of times you hear, oh, we'll just like leverage out the stuff that you don't want to do, like the paperwork, the TC stuff. Yes, that is important. If you are not good at the paperwork, you don't enjoy it, leverage it out, right? Because that stuff does need to continue to move forward. But the like where the mindset shift is in understanding that your admin can also be an extension of you for every activity that you are doing. If you are big in your community and you're trying to get, other small businesses to partner with you, have them go reach out to even more, you know? And so how Core Ops sets that up is we have a real estate business hub where it's this big old nerdy Google sheet. And, you know, if an admin were to come in to do one-on-one coaching with us, or if you as the agent had no idea where to start with your systems or the true foundation for your business, if you need your SOPs, if you need the workflows of, hey, what happens when a lead comes in, right? What are the statuses that we should tag them? Then they would go through our strategy to scale program. And we're customizing that business hub for them. So the admin essentially has a whole business manual for them to work off of. And that's not anything that I had when I started my previous position. And if I could go back in time, that's where I would start.
So really, again, the focus here is that when you hire an admin, and what would you say also is the median? Like, if you were to pick a number, I know that the answer is technically it's always different. Every situation depends,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. What is the median, like, if you had to pick a number of what most real estate agents are paying a full-time admin who's in the United States? Again, we're not
Mhm.
talking about someone in the Philippines or Pakistan or India. It's not like a virtual assistant, an actual admin here in the United States. Is the average 40,000 a year, 50,000 a year, 65,000 a year? What are you seeing as like the average?
The average, I would say right in the middle would be 45,000 as the average. I
Okay.
know
And
I know some that are 60K, 70K for DOO, higher from there. I know some that are 24, 30, 36, whatever.
yeah, and that probably, I would imagine, depends on whether or not they're full time
Right.
and what market of the country they're in. Because if you're trying to hire someone in the Bay Area or New York City versus rural Tennessee, the pay scale is probably going to
Right.
be higher. So
Right.
would you say, all things being equal, if you're in a normal kind of middle cost area, like you're somewhere in Tennessee or somewhere in Missouri or something, you're probably paying your admin
Probably,
$50,000 a year or
yeah.
something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say
Okay.
anywhere from
Just,
probably 35 to 50, depending on what you're having them do. You know, if
yep.
they are very much client focused and they are, the client care coordinator and kind of doing a lot of that behind the scenes stuff that you wish you were doing more of, right? The campaigns and the planning events and all of that, then, probably around that 35, 40. If they're a true operations manager and they have people underneath them and they're managing the TC and you truly are a little bit more hands off from the actual business stuff, then yeah, it's going to be higher, 50, 60.
So you mentioned, hey, them putting together client care packages or planning events. Could you just rattle off a list of things that you think an admin should be doing that most agents wouldn't normally think of? Because you've already listed a couple. Would you mind just rattling off a big list of, hey, here's what you should have an admin doing that you probably haven't thought to have them do?
Yeah.
Because I think many agents, I'll just preface this by saying many agents think, hey, I don't need to hire an admin. I don't need any help because like it doesn't take me that long to read my emails, or it doesn't take me, I don't spend that much time on my calendar. And they're looking at just this narrow focus of what they think an executive assistant does.
Yeah.
But you have a much broader view, I think, of here's what you should have your admin doing. And if you truly make that list of here's all the things they could and should be doing, that's like, oh yeah, I could see how that I could like how that's a full-time job, even if you're not yet a super duper top producing agent doing 75 or 80 deals a year or 100 deals a year, whatever. Even if you're an agent listening to this who's doing 30 transactions a year, you probably could justify hiring an admin again if that admin paid for themselves.
Right. Right.
If you hired them for, let's just say $50,000, and because of all the extra marketing campaigns that they make possible and the extra things they're doing, that your GCI magically coincidentally grows by $100,000 in the next year, the admin not only saved you time, so probably you're now working a more reasonable 40 hours a week versus 50 or 60, but they also grew your business.
Right.
What would be that list of things that you think admins should be doing that most people don't really think of when they potentially hire an admin?
Yeah. And I'm just going to stick to the ones that I know are revenue generating versus the nerdy behind the scenes. You're already narrowed in on that. First of all, building their own referral network. Other admin can meet other admin and they can go and network with each other and learn from each other. And we have it in our Core Ups community all the time. And hey, do you know anyone that's moving to this area or that area? Yeah. And now all of a sudden we're sending referrals back and forth. I have a director of operations friend who pays not just hers, but everyone else's salary on the team almost on a monthly basis, just from the referrals that she is generating. Wow. For the team. As well as auditing expenses. You have no idea how many subscriptions, even if they're just like the cap cut $5 a month. Well, when's the last time you used it? And sure, it's $5, right? But just wait till they find the one that's 500. Or, right. The one that you paid for last year that you used twice and forgot about. And it's going to renew again in a couple months.
Or the platform marketing charge that you're paying for and you're not even following up with your leads.
And there we go, auditing the CRM, going through and saying, if you are not wanting them to call the lead or follow up with the lead, they can at least make a list of everybody that has come in recently or been on the website recently or whatever. So auditing that CRM.
I think like the broader point that all these things have in common is these are things that most agents wouldn't even think to do. Like when they start their day, they don't think of these things as being on their to-do list because they've like subconsciously repressed these tasks for so long because they know deep down, I don't have time to do all this stuff, right? I don't have time to follow up with all my leads, or I don't have time to create client care packages for past clients. I don't have time to, plan client appreciation events and do all the prep work and the promotion and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And so because they tell themselves, whether or not it's true, they tell themselves this narrative, this story of I don't have time to do all this. It only takes a couple months of telling yourself that eventually you start to believe it. That's just how the human brain works, right?
Yeah.
And if you start to believe that I don't have time, you'll eventually forget about all those tasks because your brain represses the fact that it was ever on your to-do list in the first place, because that's really stressful if something's on your to-do list and you never do it. So actually you just don't even think of them as being things to do anymore, which is why I think a lot of agents tell themselves, I don't need to hire an admin. I don't really have that much stuff for them to do. It's like, that's because you're in denial at how many things you could be doing to grow your business, but you just aren't willing to do it yourself.
And how you just said you could be doing, right? Like all of the things that you as the agent, you're listening to this and you're saying to yourself, oh, I could be doing that. I could be doing that. If you replace that with, I will have my admin do that, then there you go. You're making that task list of revenue generating activities that you need them to be doing.
Yeah, and sometimes I think semantics matter.
Mm-hmm.
So like how we word things and the actual like conceptions we have around different roles based off of like the titles, I think that matters of how your brain processes this information. So maybe what some people need is to stop thinking of it as an admin and start thinking of it as like a marketing associate,
We
right?
use the
Or
term
a
growth partner.
yeah, sure, exactly. That's a great a great phrase. Like the exact wording doesn't matter. Think of whatever phrase you want to use,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I think a lot of people when they hear the word admin or executive
Mm-hmm.
assistant or secretary or all these synonyms that more or less mean the same thing.
You think of
Again,
paper
they
pusher.
yeah, they're like, "Oh, well that's the nice lady at the front desk
Mm-hmm.
who checks the email and
Answers the
organizes my
yeah,
calendar and she delivers flowers to my clients or whatever."
right,
It's like you have this stereotypical uh role in your mind when you hear the word admin and
yeah,
you're like, well, I don't need that. I'm not that important. I'm not a Fortune 500 CEO. I don't need a full-time admin, but that's not really what you're talking about.
right, exactly. Yeah. No, and that's not what we are talking about here at all, because it's not the person who's just filing the past transactions and making sure that, compliance is good, right? Like that is a very important role in and of itself, separate from what we're talking about here. The
So
the TC role, of course, saves you time, does the things that you don't want to do, right? But the growth partner is the person who's actually going to make and find you money.
yeah, now you said that hey, any expense should really be getting 4x return. And I know how you calculate that is you're looking at, hey, after taxes, you need enough money left over, et cetera. Because it's not that if you hire someone for 50K and they bring in 200K of GCI for you, it's not that you actually kept that 150 because there's expenses and taxes and stuff in there, right?
Right.
But I think you would be you would be fairly confident in saying, and if you're not, correct me if I'm wrong, but you would be fairly confident in saying, if you do this right and you follow Lauren's system for hiring an admin and you kind of view them as a growth partner and you can even use that job title,
Mm-hmm.
at a minimum, if you hire someone full time, 40 hours a week for 50 grand, your GCI should increase by at least $100,000 or you're doing it wrong.
If not more. Correct.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Because that's only a
Yeah.
2 to 1. That's only a 2 to 1 multiple, not a 4 to 1.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think a lot of agents like they would hear that even just the 2 to 1, like, oh, I hire someone for 50, my GCI grows by 100, and they still think like that seems like a lot, growing my GCI by 100 grand because maybe you're in a market where
Yeah.
homes are 300,000, so that's probably 10 to 12 transactions a year.
But also, you're probably not paying them 50 grand. You're probably paying them 30 if they're full time, right? In that sort of area and scenario, you know? If the average home
Yeah,
value is 200, you're probably paying them more, 30, 35, 40 grand for a very full time.
yeah, like you can always bonus people too based on the transactions they help bring in. So you can have a lower amount, like I said, you pay 30,000, but if they bring in business, they get
Yeah.
whatever,
The
a
way that we have it
$500
set up,
bonus.
the way that we have it structured for people, like when they go through strategy to scale and they're, hey, I want to bring on an admin. This is actually what we did for last fall with the first platform marketing client that we have in common. When we did a strategy to scale for her, she came on, she had a large team that
And who is this?
it was Kimberly Music.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly, cool.
Yep. She came, she started strategy to scale and she had a larger team that was not producing for her. She had one admin who was very focused on the TC sort of tasks, and we
Right.
restructured everything for her. We put standards and accountability in for her agents, and a lot of them left. We kind of
Yeah.
had to burn it all down to
Yep.
rebuild correctly. And
And that's what I think, by the way, is so valuable about the way that you have structured like your consulting program, Lauren, for those who want to hire you. By the way, this is a good time. What is the website if someone wants to get in touch with you and find out about
Yeah.
hiring you?
Yeah. It's coreopscollective.com.
Okay, coreopscollective.com. So this is what I think is cool about the way you do it is that you're not just selling like a copy and paste program where, hey, you pay Lauren a couple $1,000s and everyone gets the exact same training program. Like you truly
You can
are
go to ChatGPT
totally,
for that.
yeah, you are totally customizing it for every individual. Like the advice and the structure that you would give someone like Kimberly is entirely different than the advice and structure
That we
and the
just gave to Shelly Wilson,
right
you know?
versus what you gave to Lana if you worked with Lana
Right.
versus what you've worked with,
Hillary
there.
Stevens. And we're working with, we just finished up a VIP day with Hillary Stevens and Shelly Wilson, and also working with Natasha Engel. And
Okay, awesome.
yeah.
And Brittany Ovey,
Yep.
did
I was
she?
just about to name drop her as well.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of platform realtors I know that just in the last couple months have reached out, started the process, or they've already worked with Lauren because she gets results, right? She customizes a plan specifically for
Yeah.
you. So it's not a cookie cutter copy paste template. If I sound like I'm being a really good salesperson for Lauren right now, it's because I've heard people that have talked with her and they're like, oh my God, Lauren saved my work life balance. Lauren saved my business from basically saved my business from myself, right?
Pretty much.
Their business was growing, but it was like a runaway train.
Yeah, and it's chaotic, and you have this feeling of dread and overwhelm every time you think about it. That's not how it should feel. Is it hard? Yes, absolutely. And it should be. Everything worth having should be hard, right? But getting it together and seeing it flourish and grow, if someone else can come in who has had the experience and gets the results, why not let them, right? It shouldn't be that runaway train. But what we did for Kimberly is essentially burned it all down, figured out what was still on her plate that she needed to hand off to her admin, but
Right.
also, I'm sorry, I'm not going to use the word admin. She was the director of operations. But also, what can her DOO do more of that Kim was already doing as well?
Sure.
And a big part of that was like, hey, go and bring in referrals, go and network, go and even, I know one of Kim's big goals for the year was to find more speaking opportunities. Go find even more for her.
Yeah. Yep. So again, like even if maybe you're looking at something that your, admin is doing and they're spending, I don't know, 5 hours a week on like an hour a day. It's like, well, if that's a revenue generating activity, could we restructure your job responsibility set instead of spending 5 hours a week on that, you're spending 10 hours a week on that, because it's often like a small percentage of someone's week that actually generates the biggest, results. But we tend to fill our days and therefore our weeks with kind of like just fluff. Like it's work that looks like it has to get done, but at the end of the week, you're like, did I actually accomplish anything? But you feel like you worked, right? And I think especially if you're the team leader, you're the entrepreneur, you're kind of the primary agent. It takes. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. It takes emotional courage to work 40 hours a week because if you're halfway decent at real estate, like you know your way around a contract, you're a people person, you have that kind of sales gene, right? Like if you're just good at people, it's not hard to go out and make a couple $100,000 a year, even make $300,000 or $400,000 a year. If you're a good agent and you have that kind of salesmanship, just that inherent, you're a good salesperson.
You're just good at relationships.
Yeah, it's not that hard to go out and make 250,000 as a real estate agent or even more. What's hard is building a business that eventually scales to, 250, 300, 400 where you're not working 60 hours a week.
Right.
Because most agents will brag about their, gross sales volume. Like, oh, I sold 15 million last year. Or I sold 23 million last year. It's like, well, yeah, anyone can have a crazy year like that if they're working 65 hours a week. But the question is that worth it? Like, do you actually enjoy working 70 hours a week or 60 hours a week? Because that doesn't require like emotional discipline or emotional courage as much as it's just, oh, I'm going to basically let all these other priorities slide in my life, whether
Yeah.
it's your husband, wife, family, kids, your
Yeah.
health, your fitness, you
Well,
know.
and a big part of like what we customize for everyone, whether it's the VIP day or like our 12-week version of strategy to scale, the first portion, the first hour that we spend together is figuring out not just what your mission and vision is, but what your core values are as well. Because every single process and workflow and template, email template or whatever it is that we're creating, job description, right? All of those are going to be rooted in what your core values are. So that, like for me personally, mine are stability, contribution, and creativity. And so every single decision that I'm faced with, I ask myself, hey, does this bring me stability? Am I able to contribute the ways that I want to? And do I have a creative outlet in some way? Because if I don't, I'm going to be bored, right? And it's the same thing like, hey, sending my kids to a new school or like signing them up for baseball, like even these little, not little, but even these like everyday type of decisions. I'm like, hey, if we do, like we just had this conversation a couple weeks ago, Tim, about travel baseball. If we do travel baseball, will our lives feel stable? Or are we contributing to our kids' growth? You know what I mean? Like, and so we start out figuring out what
I
your core.
I totally thought you were going a different direction with that story. I thought you were going to say, if we do travel baseball, do we bring brass knuckles? But
Oh my gosh, we do actually. We do from now on. Yes.
all right, we need to derail this conversation, take maybe a 2-minute detour, and share that story on the podcast that you shared with me on our phone call a couple weeks ago, because that is hilarious. Sorry for the change of topic, but it's really
It's
important that we
this is the
discuss
most
this.
important part of this whole podcast. So my boys are 5 and 7, and they won their rec league championship baseball tournament. Okay,
Keep in mind they're 5 and 7,
they're 5 and
so
7.
basically like first grade and preschool, right?
Yes, exactly. VPK in first grade. They just finished. So for this championship tournament, right, there was like our team was number 1 seed, and the number 2 seed was eliminated because they had been found to be cheating. How do you cheat in how do you cheat in 7-year-old baseball?
Steroids, human growth hormone.
Yeah, for first graders. I still don't understand it, but they were eliminated, and the parents were absolutely going.
So what did they actually do to cheat? In all
Okay,
seriousness, was it they
so
put
in
like
all
a
seriousness, you have to rotate the players in because they are between the average age of 6 and 8. Okay, so you have to rotate the players from the infield and the outfield. You cannot just sit the kids that don't have the natural talent,
right?
6 years old. You can't just sit them on the bench. They have to play. They were not playing those kids. They were playing the kids that could hit the ball and could field the ball. They were not giving the kids that couldn't a true
Yeah.
chance. So, anyways,
And these are and these are the rules that every other team was abiding by.
right, right.
Yeah.
There were 11 teams, and 10 of them had a problem with one team, and only one team had a problem with our team. So, if you do the math, there's someone in the negative the whole time, right? Anyways, the game that they got eliminated from was against the number 11 team. Okay. And so why that matters, I don't know, but I just had to throw that part in there. So anyways, when they were eliminated, the manager of the team walked out to the parking lot, and the manager of the other team was like, "Hey, good game, bud," to his son. Okay. The cheating manager didn't like that, and basically was like, "Let's fight right now. Let's go, because you're talking to my kid." And it was the wildest. I'm telling a terrible version of this, but moral of the story is
Like an actual fight broke out
Literally an actual fight. There was red jerseys and there were green jerseys and
at like okay, so we're talking about an actual, and what I'm about to say here is not facetious or an exaggeration. It's actually literal. A fight broke out at a preschool baseball game.
mhm. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So
Anyways, this doesn't have anything to do with hiring an admin or
no, it doesn't.
growth partners, but it's important to us that you know this. And now that you know what the baseball scene in Florida is like. So if your kids are going to play baseball, uh, I hope
Be
they're ready.
prepared. Be prepared. It's wild. Um, I don't
So we were talking on the
core
phone. We were talking on
values.
the phone a couple weeks ago. Yep.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I was telling you that, and then we got derailed from that conversation into a couple books that you recommended, which my shelf's getting a little big. I'm gonna feel like you soon with your 1,200 books or however.
Goals 1,200. It's more like 2,000 some
Okay,
now, but
sorry. But yeah, so what we do is truly create that foundation for what your business needs to look like and be set up as for it to not feel so separated between work and life. So that way, like, hey, here's a hard decision. Ooh, is this going to be good for my business? Well, it should also be good for your real life as well. But yeah.
so when you're going through that process, because all these clients are different, right? Like sometimes you have a client who has a big team of 10 agents. Other times you're working with uh, realtors that it's just them. They don't have anyone on their team. It's just them.
Mhm.
What are the common things that no matter what their team structure looks like, what are the common things that you find yourself helping every client with that they're not doing because they don't have an admin? Like what are almost the immediate couple things that every admin can start doing for every realtor, like no matter what their business looks like?
Defining what the past client touch plan is, making sure that, hey, we want to have home anniversary handwritten cards sent every year or just for the first year. And then the second year, we'll start doing home value. Like, what does it look like? And putting together truly the workflow for it. So, transaction closes and it gets, the status turns closed in the CRM or however you do it, right? What happens next? Who's collecting the review? Who's making sure that the review actually got posted and not just sent the automatic email?
Yeah.
you know, who is going through and making sure that they've collected the birthday so that they can send them a birthday card or however you want to do it. Who's going through and saying, okay, who's tracking that they sent a referral, right? Because
Right.
if one client has sent you 5 referrals that year, probably should give them, a really big thank you.
So really it's like ask yourself, what is it costing you not to have a full-time person whose sole job it is to maximize the number of referrals you're getting from your database and your sphere? Make sure that no past client that you've worked with ever ends up working with any other realtor, because you do such a good job of staying top of mind with them, maximizing all of the inbound business and inbound referrals that you could be getting, not just from your sphere, but like the outer rims of like
Mhm.
your sphere. Ask yourself, what if you had a full-time person whose job it was to bring in all that business and you didn't have to do anything? Like that person was going to do it all for you. I think most people listening to this would probably agree. If a person's full-time 40-hour a week job was what you just laid out there, they should be bringing in at least a deal a month.
Yeah. And I'm going to actually backtrack for a second because they don't even have to be full time to do that. If you can't afford full time, if the thought of having that 30, 40, $50,000 a year salary makes you break out in hives, what can you do? Is it $500 a month? Because that's where I started with core ops. I was like, hey, I got 500 bucks. Let's figure out what
Actually, I believe you said you had $4
out.
when you started
You're
core
right.
ops,
I had
but that
four whole
but
dollars.
with inflation, that was probably a lot more
Right,
back then.
right. Well, it was a year and a half or 2.5 years ago. So not that much.
So yeah, like yeah, 2.5 years ago, a $4 was about 500 now. So
True.
that actually tracks.
So, but I went through and I was like, okay, what is the most bang I can get for my buck? Right. And I had her do that. Of course, I knew her previously and she worked on the team that I was on before. And so we had a good relationship. And she was like, hey, I trusted you before. I'm going to trust you now. Right. So I had that person that believed in me. But where are you? And what person can meet you there and help build this with you? And then they'll get up to the production bonuses and, 4 grand a month or whatever it is.
Yeah, having the clarity about knowing exactly what they're going to be doing. Like even if you're only buying 2 hours a day of their time, right? They're literally working, let's say, 10 hours a week, like 2 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
right? Having the clarity of knowing, hey, you're going to work 2 hours a day, but here's exactly what you're going to do in those 2 hours. That's what'll give you the confidence to go hire the person. Because I think what a lot of realtors maybe haven't yet verbalized, like they're thinking this intuitively, but they haven't said it out loud, is that, well, the real reason I don't want to go hire someone is I don't really know exactly what they would do. And I don't want to spend money on some undefined, like vague role where it's like, yeah, you're my assistant, but I don't really know what you're doing. But if you had a very strictly, clearly defined, even if it's just for 2 hours a day, that'll give you the confidence to hire that person. One other trick that I've always used at Platform is like, whether we're hiring someone for a full-time role or a part-time role, um, don't don't worry about what their annual salary is, and don't let that psych you out of hiring someone when you know you kind of need to hire to grow, because it's not like when you hire someone you're paying them their first year salary up
Right.
front, right? So even if, like, let's say the word or let's say the number 60,000 scares you, because what if in your area, like, oh man, for me to hire someone that's up to my standards, I might need to spend
Yeah.
$60,000 a year. And like honestly, in 2025, that's not even a ton of money, right?
Crazy to say.
It probably was 5 years ago, but like with inflation where it's at now in a lot of markets of the country, like it might cost you 60 grand. It's like you don't need $60,000
Right.
like in a checking account to hire that person. 60 grand is 5 grand a month, right? I would say, and you might even disagree with me on this, Lawrence. I actually would be curious to hear your thoughts, but I would say just have 3 months of it saved up,
Yeah.
because that's five. It's if it's 60K, that's a 5 grand a month salary. So save up $15,000, 5 grand a month times 3 months. Because if they haven't proven within 90 days that they're paying for themselves, assuming you have really good systems, right? Assuming
Right.
that you gave them very clearly defined job roles, they're probably not a fit for you anyways, and you need to go hire someone else, because they should honestly be able to prove within the first month or two, even 3 months is generous here, that they're providing value for you. That doesn't necessarily mean that closings are coming in right away, because there's a sales cycle in real estate. They might convert some leads in those first couple months that take 4 or 5 months to actually close, right? But you should know that what they're doing is resulting in closings coming in for you. You don't need to save their whole salary, right? Like
Right.
you just need to maybe have a couple months of it socked away, so that when they start doing the work, that you're buying yourself enough time, you're buying yourself enough runway for those closings to start coming in, and then that person is more than paying for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And I would agree with that because, how we set it up during strategy to scale is we structure it for a 30, 60, 90 day kind of training program. And what do they need to do? What do they need to learn? What do they need to have mastered by day 30? Did they? Yes. Okay, great. Now they get to move on to the next 30 days. If they didn't, okay, well, then it's not working out. You know,
Right.
if you are someone that's like, okay, they did 80% of it, they got 80% of the way there, and I'm going to move them on to the next 30 days because I believe in them. Okay, great. But I would agree with you that that money does need to be saved up in one way, shape, or form. If you have 35 listings that are going to be closing in the next 90 days, you probably have 15 grand saved up.
Right.
You know?
Right. where are the best places to find a rock star, admin or growth partner, whatever phrase you want to use? Have you found there's any patterns of like, hey, hire former teachers because teachers
Mm,
are really organized,
we
or
love former teachers.
hire dental assistants, or whatever. Like, what
Yeah.
is there a gold mine out there of like this? Not saying it's going to work every time, right?
Mhm.
But is there a profession or a place that you find talent where you're like, more often than not, this works really well for finding people to hire, and here's why?
So, former teachers, absolutely. I hired a former teacher myself for our own director of operations. And she is my lifeline. So former teachers, absolutely. Also, like small little boutique owners or Etsy business owners that, maybe they just want to branch out into something else. They realize being the owner wasn't for them. Um, Someone with that kind of creative bone. Um, that and I mean, I'll throw a plug in for us military spouses because we are adaptable and work hard and we can roll with the punches like crazy.
And I'll also say that as a company that employs several military spouses, um, military spouses definitely roll with the punches. They're used to change. They're used to kind of operating in a high stress environment where, um, they have to react and just kind of like
Okay,
things are
let's
told to
keep
them. You're
going.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Oh, we're PCSing where,
yeah. All right, let's go.
um, and because of that, if you offer them stable employment, like a good paying job that pays well, that they feel valued, they'll be loyal to you,
Mhm.
because often military spouses, when they, get transferred somewhere, they have to quit the job they had.
Right.
If, and a lot of them end up being like, well, being I can't keep a job more than a couple of years, I'm not even going to bother having a career, you know.
Yep.
And so they like, if you can offer that stability to a military spouse where it's like, hey, come work with me and you can keep the same job no matter how many times you get PCS'd, and you can have a remote job.
Yeah.
um that's a huge value. So I will definitely say that that works. We've also had great success hiring teachers.
Yeah.
Again, it's not that it works every time. Like,
Right. Right.
there's some bad teachers out there, just like there's bad anything else.
Yeah.
But I think the classroom management, organizational skills, also just they're used to doing a lot of stressful work for frankly not a lot of pay.
Mhm.
And so
And
you can offer them more.
the military spouse side of it again, you might be thinking to yourself, I need someone in person because I want them
Sure.
to do, go put out signs or help deliver pop buys or whatever, right? You can hire a high school kid to do that too. And the military spouse side of it for networking and bringing in referrals, I made for 12 years, I made all of my friends online first and then finally started meeting them in person. And I I have now referral partner agent friends everywhere, but also like people still will message me and be like, hey, we just got orders to Wright Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. Who do you know? And I'm like, oh, well, actually, blah 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 blah.
Jacqueline Hauser.
Right? Yep, there you go.
She's actually she checks all the boxes here. She's her and her husband Alan is, I don't even know if he's like a general in the Air Force now, or he's the president of the United States or something, but he's really high up in the Air Force now. They just got transferred over to Wright Patterson. She's a former teacher,
Oh my gosh.
military. She's a military spouse. She's an account manager at Platform and one of our absolute best account managers. And Jacqueline is like a perfect example of
Yeah.
everything we were talking about, where she was a teacher in her previous career, and I think literally made like
Right.
$45,000 a year or something like that. I mean, it was like barely getting paid anything.
Right.
And now Platform, I won't publicly like reveal her salary or whatever, but I'll just say she makes substantially more than that, and she has a job that she can
Yeah.
carry with her, because I think her and Alan have moved like 3 times in the last 3 years. They were in Idaho, then Alabama, now Ohio, because he's on some like internal like leadership track program thing where he keeps getting bounced around
Yeah.
as he gets these promotions or whatever. And so for them to have that stability of, hey, Jackie can keep keep
Yeah.
her job, and it's like the one steady variable in their life, no matter what's changing. Like Jackie can keep this platform job. It's
Yeah.
a super win-win because she's also honestly one of our absolute best employees um,
Yeah.
ever. So that's a huge shout out to hiring. If you can find the right like military spouse and or teachers, if you can find one who's both, that's like the double
You
whammy right
definitely
there.
win. Yeah. No, the real estate team that I worked for was the central location, the hub location was out of Colorado Springs. I had never been to Colorado Springs in my whole life. I lived in Tennessee. I lived at Fort Campbell. Um,
Where is Campbell again?
I lived on the Tennessee side, but it's in Kentucky.
Okay.
Christy Harris is around
Oh,
there.
the Clark's
Clarksville, Tennessee.
Clarksville. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So, um, but yeah, I had never been to Colorado and planned events and grew relationships and grew friendships and recruited and did all of the things, and then opened up a location in at Fort Benning, Georgia, and then Alaska, and then Tennessee and North Carolina, and all over the place.
I don't have it. I don't have it with me. At least I think I don't. Maybe I moved it in here, but maybe I didn't. I found my grandpa's old officer's training manual from Fort Benning in World War II,
Oh my
um,
gosh, my
where it's
husband
like
would lose his mind.
it looks so cool. It's like perfectly preserved. I don't know how he preserved it all these years, but we were going through his stuff. He passed away about 5 years ago, and I found this manual for him when he went to officer school.
Yeah.
It says like on the front, it's got this illustration. It says like "Follow me" or something. It's just like a book about leadership and how they teach leadership to officers. But on the inside, it's clearly typed out by like a typewriter.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
like Fort Benning,
Yeah.
1944, whatever. And I was like, this is so cool. So I grabbed that and made sure that I got that
Yeah.
piece of his.
No, my husband would lose
Anyways,
his mind to see that.
I'll have to text you some pictures of it. It's
Yeah.
actually pretty cool. So what are the like what are the most common like psychological or emotional reasons that
Mm.
someone doesn't hire an admin when they should be? Because clearly I think at this point of this podcast episode we've laid out
Yeah,
the
you need
math,
to.
and yeah, we've laid out the math and the logic of why it's stupid not to, because it's actually costing you money.
Right.
You like at a minimum, what's going to happen is at a minimum, like a worst case scenario, you hire someone and they at a minimum pay for their salary, but they free up a bunch of your time.
Right.
So like worst case scenario is you have more time,
Mm-hmm.
which is amazing, right? Even if your income doesn't grow, but that's a worst case scenario. So I think at this point we've pretty clearly established like you should hire, if you're selling any more than like 20 homes a year, you should hire an admin because it's costing you more money not to have one than it would to have a full-time admin or growth partner.
Right. Right.
So the reason someone doesn't isn't because of the math, right? It's not because of the money. It's always an emotional hang up, kind of like a hidden psychological reason they don't. What is that reason? Like, why wouldn't someone, when the when the math is frankly so
Yeah.
obvious?
They don't trust anyone to do it as well as they will. But it's not getting done right now. So done is better than perfect, or done is better than the exact way that you would, right?
Yep. Yep.
And you gotta let that go, because if you want to grow your business, or if you want to have some version of work-life balance that I don't think is actually real, but having some sort of time, just getting your time back in general, right? Being
Yep.
able to pour into the things that you want to do, whether that's spending more time with your kids or going on vacations more or whatever. You're not going to be able to do that and grow your business or sustain it at the 60, 70 hours, however many hours a week you're working.
Yep.
And having someone come in and either take stuff off of your plate or do more of what you are already doing in order to find that growth, it's not getting done right now. So you might as well just trust someone else to go and do it the best way that you can teach them how.
Yeah, like I said, I don't really like respect entrepreneurs I shouldn't say, not that I don't respect them, but I'm not impressed by entrepreneurs who make a bunch of money, whether they're a real estate agent or anything else. If you're like, hey, I'm crushing it in whatever business, an HVAC business,
Sure.
and I made $1 million last year, whatever, I'd be like, cool. But if you worked 70 hours a week for
Yeah.
it and you're not present with your family or your kids, or you don't have any hobbies, or I mean, like, I love work more than anyone I know. So I'm not saying this as someone who I hate work and I try to
Right.
avoid. It's like, no, I love working. I love thinking about work.
Me too.
I ch- I check all those boxes too. And yet I think it's kind of chicken shit to hide behind like the gross volume or how much money you make if you're working 70 hours a week. It's like, you know what? Anyone can do that.
Yeah.
Anyone can go just hustle harder and work 80 hours a week and make a bunch of money. I think what requires actual courage is doing the mental labor of like, all right, how do I structure this by bringing in employees, um, so that I can make whatever income goal I want to make, whether that's $1 million, whether that's
Right.
500,000, whether it's 250,000, whatever, while working 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I mean, in my opinion, it's a lot more impressive to be able to say, hey, I made X amount, I made $1 million, right? But more importantly, I was able to take my kids to Disney and actually be there, not be on my phone responding to
yeah,
leads or, making sure that whatever form got submitted. You're actually present.
yeah.
That's
I
more
mean, like,
impressive.
I will brag right now because normally people brag about how much money they make or whatever. I'll brag that I've structured my life in such a way that I take my daughter Rosie with me to work usually 2 days a week.
Mhm.
And one of those days is tomorrow. So I'm just going to have her hanging out at the office. We'll probably go to the children's museum. I might take her to an indoor playground for a couple
Yeah,
hours. And like, I'll have my phone on me. So if someone needs to call me, I can always
right.
take a quick phone call. I'll be generally monitoring Slack, emails, whatever, but I don't have any calls. I'm going to be hanging out with my daughter
Yeah,
all day. And that's a random Thursday that I'm doing that. Right. Like, to me, it's much more important that I'm running this business in such a way that I can not just be a pretty good dad, but I want to be like an elite dad, like the top 1% of 1% of dads
yeah,
in terms of how much time I spend with my family. That to me is the ultimate flex, because not very many people uh, do that. And if you're ever going to get to that, you have to embrace this idea of, I'd rather have 40 people working for me,
mhm,
where every hour that goes by I'm personally benefiting from 40 people giving me an hour of their time, than me working 40 hours a week. Now, I'm not saying you have to go hire 40 employees, right? But I forget what book I read that in. And that was just like a huge light bulb moment
yeah,
for me, that you don't think about it like that. But eventually, if you grow an organization to the point that you have 20, 30, 40, 50, or 100 employees, whatever, it's better to have 100 people working for you, you know, where every hour that goes by you got 100 hours of productivity done because you have
mhm,
100 employees working, an hour for you in
right.
that hour, than for you personally to work 100 hours,
A week.
a
Yeah.
week.
Well,
Um,
and not only that, but like even if it was just one
yep.
person, right? If you have their role so defined and they know how to win, one of the biggest questions that we tell agents to ask in interviews, while they're interviewing for this growth partner position is, how can I win with you? Because you want to set the expectation that they will know how to win here. So if they like direct communication, or if you have to
Right.
do a compliment sandwich when giving feedback or whatever, right? Like, how do I win with you? And here's exactly how you win with me, because it's all written in your job description and your 30, 60, 90.
So if you have clarity on those things, if you have clarity on exactly what the job role, the description is, what they're going to be doing, how you define success, like,
Mhm.
here's how I'll know you're crushing, you're crushing your eval, you're going to get a positive performance review, maybe even get a bonus, whatever. So
Right.
it's like nothing is left to chance, nothing is open-ended or ambiguous. Like, here's exactly what I want you doing every day for the 2 hours you work for me, or the 5 hours you work for me, or if it's a full-time job,
Right.
8 hours a day, whatever.
Yeah.
As long as there's clarity around that, most people will then have the confidence to go out and hire. The reason you're not hiring is because you haven't yet created clarity around exactly what this role is and what they'll spend their time doing every day.
Yeah. And when your core values are clear, decisions are easy, and making these roles will be easy. Because if you're looking, if you're doing a time audit, for example, if you're going through and you're saying, okay, I spend X amount of hours on, whatever the task is. Okay. If you're saying you're spending X amount of hours on, I don't know, going through your email, 1 hour a day, right? Or you're saying I spend 4 hours a week checking in with past clients. Okay, great. What core values do you have? Is that like being present? We'll just use that, being present, right? Are you being present with your past clients? And that's great. Can you also be present with your family? You know what I mean? Like, where can we
Sure.
multiply the past client presence? And that's in that role.
So Lauren, you'll be speaking at the Platform Mastermind
Yep.
later this year. We mentioned your website was what again?
coreopscollective.com.
Okay, coreopscollective.com. If someone wanted to hire you for a one-on-one kind of VIP consulting day, I think you call it your strategy day.
To scale. Yep.
What does that cost to hire you for like that one-on-one personal consult day?
Yeah. Well, so our VIP day is right now. If you book before July 31st, we're doing an intro rate of $5,000.
Okay.
And so after July 31st, the price is subject to go up, but we are currently in discussions as to what the cost is going to be. But our
1 million dollars.
Yes, exactly. You can't afford us. Just kidding. But our 12-week strategy to scale is around 6,700. So I would assume that it would probably be around that cost.
So that just gives people an idea of like, if you want to hire Lauren personally to connect with you and walk you through everything and basically implement like a custom solution for you. Again, you're not buying like a program where it's a training. You're personally buying a full day of Lauren's time to sit with you in person and figure this out, or on Zoom, whatever works for you. Right. Just to give people an idea, it's like $5,000 for that day. And it sounds like we've had a lot of very, very happy platform clients that have gone through this process with Lauren, and she's kind of completely revitalized their businesses by building in that structure and that leverage.
Yeah.
By either showing them how to hire an admin and what they need to do, or taking an employee they currently have and making them much more productive by working on the right things.
Yep. Both admin and agents. If you have agents on your team, we figure out what does the standard and expectation need to be for all things. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Lauren, keep having fun in the baseball parking lots. And
it was me. I was the one who started the fight.
Yeah, that was a detail I left out. It was actually me. I threw the first punch.
Yes, it was me and Tim, and
I threw the first punch at the preschool baseball game.
Gosh.
Florida, man. Florida.
True.
So,
Florida's
all right. Well, I will see you at the mastermind in December. And again, if people want more information on Lauren and her work, check out coreopscollective.com.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Thanks, Lauren.